much insulin will promote insulin resistance. Too much of something will promote a resistance to that something. If we are incessantly inundated with a noxious stimulus, we become resistant to that stimulus. And we need more and more and more of it in order to get the same response that we used to. And now when we view this through the lens of the modern diet, which worldwide, the average, the typical global diet consumes almost 70% of all of its calories from carbohydrates. And it's carbohydrates, not proteins, not fats, that spike insulin the most. In fact, by a wide margin. And so it's easy to see then that you have the average individual globally who wakes up in the morning and eats a starchy, sugary breakfast. Their insulin levels have been coming down overnight, and they immediately ramp them up, easily boosting insulin levels by 10 times, easily. And then even in an insulin-sensitive person, it may take up to 3 hours for the insulin to come back down to normal. And if you're an insulin-resistant person, it can take 5 or 6 hours to come back to normal. But of course, long before then, the person is now having a mid-morning snack, which once again is something sugary and refined. And so before insulin even has a chance to start cresting, they've bumped it back up again. And then the same thing happens with a starchy lunch, an afternoon snack, and an evening, their dinner, and then an evening snack. And so the average person is spending every waking moment, and even several hours into their non-waking moments, in a state of elevated insulin. And too much insulin, whether it's isolated cells or rodents or humans, contributes and independently causes insulin resistance. And thus, having framed it that way, the solution starts to become obvious, although we complicate it with medications and things, emphasizing the importance of scrutinizing what goes in our mouth and how frequently it's going in our mouth in order to understand where the insulin resistance is coming from. In other words, why has it become the most common, most prevalent metabolic problem or overall problem worldwide? It's because of how we eat.